Hello there. So today what I want to do in this video is I want to show you how to set up a website in Photoshop ready to bring into Dreamweaver. Once we brought it into Dreamweaver, we can then take it and upload it to our remote servers and have a fully published website. Before we do any of that stuff, before we even get into Dreamweaver in order to create our structure, our layout using divs and using our structural elements using CSS and HTML5, what we need to do is we actually need to look through how we go about designing the page in the first place. So if I go to Photoshop, I've already got a simple wireframe set up here already. So what you see here is my basic layout. Now what I've done is I've written this down, I've drawn it all out on a piece of paper before I made it in Photoshop, and what I've got written down on my piece of paper is all the numbers that I was going to use. So the document size here is, if we look at file and then new just for a second, is a 1024 by 768 web document. Everything's in pixels, 72 pixels per inch resolution, as of course is the usual. What I've done is I've used this number as a sort of starting point. Just the width, the height I can adjust if I need to for my page, but I haven't changed it much. So what I've done is I've taken this number as my base number for the width of the page, and then I've worked everything out based on that. Now, this is what they call a web minimum size, so you wouldn't see any web pages smaller than this. I've chosen this size because this should work on any screen, but there are others available to you. So web medium is a different size, and web large is a different size. All are presets within Photoshop. Now, I just cancel that for a second. We'll go back and look at my version. So this is my version, my wireframe here. I've set up a header up the top. I've set up, if I look at my guides on the layers stack here, you can see I've got a header, I've got a navigation bar, I've got a left column which I'll probably put an image in, and then a right column for other content such as text content, and then underneath that I've got a footer. These are all particular sizes, and those sizes are, if I turn this layer on, 1000 pixels wide across the board. So 3 of these are 1000 pixels wide. So what I've done is I've taken my document size, which is 1024, and I've said, okay, I'm going to give myself gaps between each of my layout areas of 12 pixels. So that leaves me with 1000 pixels across here, giving me nice easy numbers to work with. So I made this 1000 by 170 pixels. This navigation bar is again 1000 across by 50 pixels. Then we've got 2 columns here. Now to get these numbers, what I did is I took 1000 and then I divided it by 2, and then I took 12 off of those. Okay, I could have done it in different order. Of course, I could have taken 1000 minus 12, then divided that by 2. Or you could just say, well, I want to take 2 boxes that would have been 500 each, and then I'm going to say, well, I need to take 12 off to make a gap in the middle, 6 off of each. That's what this number ends up being. So 500 minus 6 is 494. Now, it's a good idea to do this. Obviously, you're not always going to want to do maths. It's going to be complicated, blah, 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 blah. But this is basic mental arithmetic. You can do it with a calculator, do it however you want. But it is only adding and minusing and sometimes dividing numbers in half. But there's never really anything more to it than that. So just be aware of that. Then my footer at the bottom here is 1000 by 60 pixels. Now I probably should have made these exactly the same, either 1000 by 60 for both or 1050 for both, but I haven't. That's fine, whatever. Now, once I've got this wireframe, this actually sets up each of the boxes I'm going to make in Dreamweaver later. So each of these is going to become an element in Dreamweaver later. So what I need to do is I need to fill this with content. I don't have to do that in Photoshop if I don't want to. I don't have to do it here in this document, but this wireframe is a useful place to start. What I could do is I could say, well, I know my picture needs to be 494 by 420 pixels, and I could go and do that and prepare my pictures completely separately of this. Or I could come in and do what I've done, which is prepare all my content, except for that picture there, beforehand in this document here, just so I can see how it's all going to lay out. Now you can see all of this is on this horrible green background. I've picked green for a reason, and I hide these guides away because I don't always want to see them. Now this is not the most exciting looking website. When there's an image here, it will look a little bit better. So if we put in just the left column for a moment, whoops, just the left column for a moment. There we go. Now that's where our image would be. That will look a little nicer than obviously having this big blank white space here. But that will function as a website. Now what I've done is in my header I've put a logo and just a title for my website. In my navigation bar I've put 4 links. Now we will look at how to do links separately, but what you could do is you could just draw these as separate images and just pop them in one next to each other, or you could put them into separate boxes within Dreamweaver. The boxes would be a way better way of doing it, but doesn't really matter as long as you get 4 things next to one another to have 4 links to your 4 different pages. That's going to be fine. Then I've got a left and right column that I've made the same size. One's going to contain an image and one's going to contain all the text information, and underneath that I've got copyright information. Now that's really, really simple. There's not much to that. It's a really, really basic website, but that's all you need to do for your first assignments for the course. So what I want to do is I want to take this and I want to say, okay, cool, these will work really well. Now I might want to export these as separate objects or whatever, separate areas. I don't need the text. This text box does not need to be exported as a separate thing. The only thing I might want to take out is this top one, the bottom one, and then possibly each of these links separately. So what I could do is I could go to my guides layer and I could say, okay, let's slice all of this stuff out. So it cuts it into different boxes. If I go highlight each of my layers, I might need to turn them all on first. Highlight all of my layers. Go up to layer and then go to layer based slices, or new layer based slices, sorry. That will give me a box around each one and I'll be able to cut each of these things out as a separate object. As I say, I only really need 1 or 2 of these. I don't need to export all of them. I'm not going to bother exporting all of them. So what I will do is I will just show you how to do that. If we go to File, and then for you guys it will be Export in newer versions of the software, and then you're looking for Save for Web. So sometimes, depending on which version of software you've got, it will be just in the File menu. In these Save options you can go to Save for Web, or if you can't see it there, it will be in Export. For me, mine's a slightly older version of software, so Save for Web. This will give me all my boxes. Now anything that's photographic, which would be what I'd have in this box here, will need to be a JPEG. But everything else can probably just be a GIF, because it's not going to have that many colors. Now, I'm just going to export this as is. I don't need to worry about it too much. Click Save. Now, I've set up a folder on my desktop called Web Design. And in there, I've set up my resources folder, which is where this Photoshop document is saved. And then there's an images folder. Currently, there is nothing in this images folder. So that's where all my images are going to end up going. If I look at my settings down here, I'm going to set this up to just export my images, and I only want my user slices. I don't want all these other little bits of white as well. Once I've done that, click Save. That exports all of those. If I minimize Photoshop here, I can see that I have in my images folder all of my things. Now these have all got this horrible green background at the moment. Well, actually, the best bet for me would be to get rid of that green background by going to Photoshop, turning off my guides after I've sliced them, and now you can see that the boxes that are the slices, these blue boxes that indicate where our slice is, are still there. They're still exactly as they were before, and all I really need to do is go to File, Save for Web, and do that exact same process again. So save what I want to save, images only, all user slices. I'm going to click Save. It's just going to ask me if I want to replace those ones I just exported, and I'll say yes I do. I'd love to replace them, please. That replaces each of those with much nicer images, which will just have for now a white background, but we might use them with a transparent background in future. However you want to do it. You can all use Photoshop hopefully by now. But this is how we get our images out. I don't need this one, it's blank, so just get rid of it entirely. Yes, I'd like to delete it. I don't need the text one, so I can delete that one as well. Now this links one that I've made, this is probably not all that useful to me, but we'll keep it for a moment and we'll go back and we'll actually make this better later on. So really what we end up with is only a couple of images. The main reason we're doing it this way is just because once we've made our design, we know everything is exactly the right size, so we don't have to worry about doing any resizing in Dreamweaver. Now, speaking of sizes, we don't have an image for this box here, so I'm going to go and prepare one of those, but I will do that in a separate video. So this is the end of that video. That's just showing you how to set up, think about your sizes and the boxes, and what content goes in them. Now, it's really, really important when you are doing your designs that you fit all of your visuals inside these boxes. If you have things overlapping the edges of the boxes, it's going to make your life really, really difficult. So try and stick to a simple design when you're working this way. We will make it more complex as we go forwards. When we get into more advanced territory, we can make more advanced designs. For now, stick with the basics, think about your alignment, think about where everything is on the page, and make your wireframe based on that.